Antonelli is not untouchable at Barcelona because he is the bravest driver on the grid. He is untouchable because Mercedes may have found the one setup window nobody else can reach. A car that lowers itself on the straights. A front wing that changes the airflow cleanly. A tire window so narrow that one aggressive mistake can destroy the lap. And somehow, Antonelli is driving inside that window like it was built around him. Ferrari showed speed. Red Bull are watching. Russell is searching for answers in the same garage. But the most dangerous part is this: if Mercedes have truly connected ride height, active aerodynamics, energy management, and Antonelli's smooth driving style into one perfect system, Barcelona may not be a race anymore. It may be the moment the rest of Formula One realizes they are fighting a driver, a car, and a setup secret working as one. Subscribe to the channel. Barcelona is where Formula One stops accepting excuses. A team can look quick at a circuit that hides weakness. A driver can make a nervous car survive for one lap. A clever strategy can cover a problem for a weekend. But Barcelona does not protect anyone. It exposes the car. It exposes the tires. It exposes the driver. And, most importantly, it exposes whether a team truly understands what it has built. That is why Antonelli's pace feels so dangerous. Because he is not just finding speed in one corner. He is finding it everywhere that matters. Through the long, loaded sections where the tires usually begin to suffer. On the straights where drag should punish a high downforce car. Under braking, where a moving aerodynamic platform can make a driver hesitate. And in the rhythm of the lap, where one small correction can create heat, sliding, and damage that follows the car for several corners. But Antonelli does not look like he is fighting that battle. He looks calm. And that is what makes the rest of the grid nervous. Most young drivers arrive in Formula One with energy that almost works against them. They attack too hard. They ask too much from the front tires. They brake late to prove they belong. They turn small mistakes into bigger ones because every lap feels like a statement. Antonelli is different. His speed does not look desperate. It looks controlled. He builds the lap instead of forcing it. He does not seem to panic when the car moves. He does not overdrive the tire just to gain one corner. And in this new Formula One era, that may be the difference between being fast for one lap and being untouchable across a full weekend. Because the 2026 cars reward a very different kind of intelligence. They are not just lighter and smaller. They are more sensitive. The active aerodynamic systems mean the car is constantly changing between cornering mode and straight mode. The hybrid systems reward drivers who think ahead, not drivers who simply spend all their energy at once. The narrower tires punish sliding. The redesigned suspension demands precision. Everything is connected. Push too hard in one part of the lap, and the price arrives somewhere else. That is the secret most people miss. Antonelli is not just driving quickly. He is keeping the Mercedes W16 inside the exact operating window where all of its systems work together. The front wing transition stays clean. The underfloor keeps receiving stable airflow. The rear suspension behaves the way Mercedes calibrated it to behave. The tires stay alive. The energy is available when it matters. That is not luck. That is compatibility. And compatibility is much harder for rivals to copy than raw speed. Ferrari can bring upgrades. Red Bull can adjust their concept. McLaren can chase a different aerodynamic direction. But they cannot simply copy the way Antonelli talks to the car through the steering wheel, the throttle, and the brake pedal. They cannot install his timing. They cannot buy his calm. They cannot recreate the exact trust between a driver and a machine that seems to reward him every time he refuses to overreact. This is why Mercedes' setup advantage feels so powerful at Barcelona. The car is not only fast when conditions are perfect. It appears to become stronger when others begin to struggle. That is the difference between a car built for a headline lap and a car built for a race weekend. A headline lap can impress everyone in free practice. A race weekend car breaks people slowly. Lap after lap. Tire after tire. Sector after sector. Barcelona rewards that kind of cruelty. And Mercedes seem to know it. While other teams chase visible performance, Mercedes appear to be chasing stability across phases of the lap. The W17's unusual front wing architecture helps create cleaner airflow under the nose. That airflow feeds the underfloor, giving the car more consistent grip. Then the passive rear suspension philosophy helps manage ride height, especially when the car is loaded at high speed. On the straight, the rear can settle into a lower, more efficient position. Under braking, it returns toward the posture the car needs for cornering. When all of that works, the car feels like it is changing shape for each part of the lap. But here is the catch. A system that's sensitive only works if the driver lets it work. A rough input can disturb the aero. A late correction can overheat the tire. A greedy throttle application can ruin traction. A nervous driver can turn a clever setup into a mess. Antonelli does the opposite. He gives the car clean information. He lets the platform settle. He seems to understand when to attack and when to wait. And because of that, Mercedes can run a setup that might feel too narrow, too delicate, or too demanding for another driver. That is what makes Russell's situation so important. Russell is not slow. He is not inexperienced. He is not suddenly lost as a driver. But if the car's fastest setup requires a level of smoothness, patience, and system management that matches Antonelli more naturally, then Russell is not just racing his teammate. He is racing the character of the car itself. That is a brutal position to be in. Because when a teammate is faster in a normal car, the answer is usually clear. Brake later. Rotate better. Save the tires. Find confidence. But when a teammate is faster because the entire technical package responds better to his natural rhythm, the solution becomes much harder. You cannot simply copy comfort. You have to rebuild it. And Barcelona gives Mercedes no place to hide that difference. If Antonelli continues to look planted while Russell searches for the same feeling, the paddock will understand something important. This setup is not just making the Mercedes quick. It is making Antonelli look like the chosen driver for this generation of car. That changes everything. Because once a team realizes one driver can unlock a car better than the other, development decisions become political. Do you widen the setup window to help both drivers, or sharpen the car further around the driver who is winning? Do you protect balance inside the garage, or chase the championship with the person who already understands the machine? Those are not easy questions. And Mercedes may have to answer them sooner than expected. For now, Barcelona is giving the first part of the answer. Antonelli's advantage is not based on one spectacular corner, one lucky lap, or one practice result. It is based on repeatability. He can keep the tires calmer. He can let the active aero transitions happen without unsettling the car. He can use energy with patience. He can drive the Mercedes in a way that turns a narrow setup window into a weapon. That is why he looks untouchable. Not because the rest of the grid forgot how to drive. Because Mercedes may have found a setup that only becomes fully alive in the hands of a driver precise enough not to break it. And right now, at Barcelona, Antonelli looks like the only one who has the key. The real danger for the rest of the grid is that Antonelli's advantage does not look like a normal advantage. A normal advantage is easy to understand. More engine power. Better traction. Stronger braking. More downforce. Cleaner tire management. Rival teams can see it, name it, and begin chasing it. But Antonelli's Barcelona edge feels different. It looks like several small advantages joining together at exactly the same time. That is what makes it so hard to fight. Mercedes have not simply given him a car that is fast in a straight line. They have given him a car that seems to change personality depending on what the lap demands. On the straights, it wants to be low, clean, and efficient. In the corners, it wants to recover stability and grip. Under braking, it wants to give the driver confidence. Through the long loaded sections, it wants to protect the tires instead of abusing them. And Antonelli is not interrupting that process. He is completing it. That is the part rivals cannot copy overnight. Because when a car depends on systems working together, the driver becomes part of the setup. His hands matter. His throttle matters. His patience matters. His ability to feel when the car is ready matters. The fastest version of the Mercedes W16 is not just sitting there waiting for anyone to jump in and dominate. It has to be unlocked. And Antonelli appears to know how. This is where the front wing story becomes important again. Mercedes' unusual front wing layout does not only affect the air at the front of the car. It influences everything behind it. The cleaner the airflow under the nose, the more consistent the floor can be. The more consistent the floor is, the less nervous the car becomes when the driver commits to a fast corner. The less nervous the car feels, the easier it is to protect the tires. That chain matters at Barcelona. Because the circuit punishes every unnecessary movement. If the driver turns the wheel too sharply, the front tires overheat. If he asks for throttle too early, the rear tires slide. If he enters a long corner without trusting the front, he hesitates, loses minimum speed, and has to recover on exit. That recovery costs energy, tire life, and lap time. Antonelli's strength is that he does not seem to need those recoveries. He is not constantly saving the car from mistakes. He is not forcing the lap back together after one corner has gone wrong. He is keeping the lap clean enough that the Mercedes systems can keep stacking benefits. A little less tire temperature here. A cleaner aero transition there. A better exit onto the straight. A more efficient energy release. Nothing looks outrageous alone. But together, the effect becomes brutal. That is why a rival driver can finish a lap, look at the gap, and feel confused. Because there may not be one obvious place where Antonelli destroyed them. He may have taken a fraction everywhere, and that is much harder to accept. When you lose everything in one corner, you can fix the corner. When you lose a little bit everywhere, you have to question the whole car. Ferrari understand that problem. Their early Barcelona pace showed they are dangerous, especially when the track is cooler and the car can chase peak performance. Charles Leclerc going fastest in free practice 1 was not meaningless. Lewis Hamilton near the front was not meaningless. Ferrari have speed, and Mercedes know they cannot dismiss them. But Ferrari's challenge is different. They need to prove their pace can survive the race conditions that Mercedes appear to be targeting. A short run can make a car look alive. A long run reveals whether it can breathe. The tires do not care about a headline lap. They care about heat, load, sliding, and time. Barcelona keeps asking the same question until the answer becomes obvious. Can you keep doing it? That is where Antonelli becomes frightening. His pace is not only about reaching a high level. It is about staying there. The W17 setup window may be narrow, but once Antonelli is inside it, he appears able to remain there longer than everyone else. That means Mercedes can think differently about the race. They can protect tires without giving away too much speed. They can carry a setup that helps them later in a stint. They can let rivals burn themselves chasing a lap time that Mercedes may not even need to chase. And that creates psychological pressure. Because if Ferrari or Red Bull believe Antonelli has more race pace than he is showing, they may overreact. They may run too much downforce to protect corners. They may push tires too hard in qualifying. They may compromise straightline speed. They may chase the wrong target because they do not know exactly where the Mercedes advantage begins. That is how a setup secret becomes a strategic weapon. It forces rivals to guess. And guessing at Barcelona is dangerous. The circuit rewards certainty. It rewards teams that know what the car will do when the temperature rises, when the fuel burns away, when the tire begins to fade, when the wind changes slightly through the faster corners. Mercedes have months of information from this track. Antonelli has already built confidence here. The team knows this surface, this rhythm, this energy demand, this tire stress. That data does not guarantee victory. But it changes the starting point. Other teams arrive asking, what will work? Mercedes arrive asking, how far can we push what already works? That difference can decide a weekend before qualifying even begins. And there is another layer hiding underneath all of this. The 2026 car does not reward the old kind of aggression in the same way. The regulations shifted the sport toward precision, efficiency, and system management. The driver who looks most heroic may not be the driver who wins. The driver who survives the lap with the least waste may be the one who destroys everyone. That is almost the opposite of how fans often imagine speed. People expect the fastest driver to look wild, late on the brakes, aggressive on the wheel, taking the car by force. But Antonelli's dominance is colder than that. His speed comes from restraint. He is not trying to beat the car into submission. He is letting the car deliver what Mercedes designed it to deliver. That is why the setup suits him so well. A passive rear suspension concept only works if the car's platform is kept predictable. Active aerodynamic transitions only work if the driver does not disturb the balance at the worst moment. Energy deployment only works if the driver thinks beyond the corner directly in front of him. Tire management only works if the driver accepts that sometimes the fastest way forward is not to attack with everything immediately. Antonelli seems to understand that instinctively. And that is what separates him from a driver who simply follows instructions. A team can tell a driver to protect tires. It can tell him to manage energy. It can tell him to avoid sliding. But hearing those instructions and feeling them through the car are not the same thing. Antonelli appears to feel them. He appears to know when the Mercedes is about to give him more, and when asking too soon would damage the lap.